Hello everybody, and welcome to our quick look. The final profession we have left to talk about is the Mesmer. Those of you who have played Mesmers in the past beta weekends probably realize why I saved this profession for last. It is definitely the most different profession apart from all the others in terms of gameplay. The builds aren't really that different. You have your condition damage, flat damage, and support specific roles just like other professions. But learning how to play a Mesmer in each of those roles is entirely different. This is definitely the one video where I want to stress that I did not accomplish this anywhere in my footage. I just went through all the classes for an hour each and played a few rounds to get footage and a feel for how every profession plays each role differently from each other. With the Mesmer, I tested it out like the others, but never looked closely enough at my actual gameplay to figure out how I needed to change my playstyle in the hour I got to play. And honestly, I don't think anyone has. Because Mesmer is affected by so much of the game, like the user interface and the pet AI, that it'll take a lot of practice to make effective use of your abilities. And the worst part is that this was still beta and we could see the interface and pet AI change over and over again that will force Mesmers to change their tactics or even limit their build options. This is a very important discussion for both sides. Whether you want to take on the challenge of rolling a Mesmer or you are planning on being a competitive player, you will need to know all the parts of the game that hide a Mesmer's true power. While I'm not saying I have all the answers, this is after all just a quick look for now. I hope you will see the Mesmer in the way Arena designed the profession to be played, so that you will be able to figure out if any changes need to be made to the Mesmer before launch. The Mesmer is the trickster class that relies on illusions and traps that divert damage off themselves while using clones to do damage. Mesmers have two types of clones and phantasms. Clones look just like you but do little damage, while phantasms are glass versions of yourself that do major damage, if not destroyed, but have a much smaller health pool. It is important to know which skills summon which kind of clone to create a good rotation for maximum damage. Use your clones to get up in their face and distract them, or explode them on your enemy for damage or stuns. Then you can summon phantasms to follow up with massive damage. One of the most important skills for the Mesmer in my opinion is any stealth ability of your choice or blink. These abilities force your opponent to pick a new target even though every choice will be wrong, but they will choose no matter what, so this is a great chance for you to set up behind them for another combo. Most of this is standard knowledge, but I figured I'd repeat it before we go into the role discussions. Mesmers are good against warriors, thieves, and maybe elementalists. Because Mesmer is a trick-based profession, it's hard to say whether or not they have a straight-up advantage over another profession. Warriors are very kiteable, and as long as you are able to keep out of the crowd control in between burst damage, you should outdamage their healing easily. Thieves are good at sneaking into battle, so you will probably be vulnerable when they first strike. But using your own stealth abilities, you can even the playing field and lock them down with stuns and burst damage. Elementalists can go either way. They have great burst damage, crowd control, and chasing abilities. If they use Scepter Dagger, the AoE damage will destroy your phantasms and you will not be able to do enough damage. Be sure to not get set up against an engineer or a ranger. Their piercing shot traits will destroy your clones and chunk your health at the same time, giving you nowhere near enough damage to take them on. Rifle warriors have this too, but it's not often that you see them. Alright, let's finally talk about the different roles a Mesmer can fill. The Mesmer already has high sustain due to the amount they can heal with 3 clones out, but they cannot be considered a defensive role because none of the weapons really support the idea. So let's look at support and 2 DPS roles. The support role for Mesmer is all about giving your team better positioning and winning the boon in conditions war. The key abilities for this are Veil of Invisibility, Signet of Inspiration, and Null Field. The Veil of Invisibility allows for sneak attacks or just team repositioning during a fight. Signet of Inspiration is to give the upper hand to your teammates as they battle their opponent. Null Field is to cleanse your team's conditions and nullify the enemy's boons all at once to force your hand in battle. This trio of abilities crushes the enemy's team's defenses while giving your team the perfect chance to strike. For weapons, I like Scepter Focus for ranged DPS, an AoE speed buff, and some crowd control in case one of your teammates are in trouble. Just keep outside the battle and help your team where needed, but remember you are decently tanky and have the Focus 4 and 5 ability, so you should be able to hold out while your teammates work on their own opponents first. The only time you need to be in the battle is to use your abilities on your whole team. And if you want to be safe, just knock back the enemy team with a mighty swing of your greatsword before you buff up your team. Okay, the easy roll is done. Now let's work on some damage. First up is the condition damage spec. This is a very tricky build because you must be able to hide it in your clones very well. Learning the AI of your clones is key to being able to get your damage out without being focused by enemies. The traits I picked are useful for adding more damage when they kill a clone, blending in with your clones by mimicking their shatter effect, and finding ways to spam confusion on your enemies. Also, I know at the moment the targeting ability can stick on a Mesmer even after substituting his position with a clone. ArenaNet have said that they were working on the Mesmer and the Necromancer professions, so I think that will become a bug fix and maybe some improved AI. Besides, 80% of players at the moment don't even know what the target button is, so it's just good practice in case anything changes. For weapons, I like the staff because it applies bleeds, poisons, and confusion, and also requires little movement, so you look more like your clones to the enemy. Start the battle with 3 clones and just stand still. You really do all look the same, except you're the one stacking conditions on them and they can't even tell. I also like Scepter Torch for its massive amount of confusion. It doesn't do much damage, but it can mitigate damage for a while if you are stalling for cooldowns or reinforcements. Also, this build is all ranged, so you can fit in with your clones while staying out of battle so your enemy is forced to make decisions. Putting the spotlight on your opponent only leaves him to make mistakes, and that's all you need to win. At last, we have the deadly all-out damage build. Mesmer's Shatter ability allows them for the quickest burst damage in the game because they are basically doing 3 to 4 attacks at once. The focus of this build is to charge your opponent with clones ready. Stun your enemy using offhand pistol. Shatter your clones on top of your blurred frenzy and finish it off with Illusionary Duelist. That's around a 3.5, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2.5, 13k damage head start against tougher opponents. Then you can use Illusionary Leap to cripple them and send them backwards using your greatsword to wait for cooldowns. This roll is good for newer people because it does not require too much on blending in or worrying if they targeted you. Your goal is to burst and get away. It's almost like playing a thief, but to make myself better than a thief, I went with more defensive abilities to keep me out of their focus, or just plain invisible to my opponents before I strike again. And with any of these builds, if you find yourself in trouble, use Moomorph. For damage builds, it's an automatic victory, and if you're rolling support, you are able to run away or kite them to your team without fear of getting locked down. Alright everybody, that about does it for a quick look at the Mesmer. I think this class will turn out just fine after a few tweaks that I know are coming. Not sure what they are yet, but I think this guide will help us learn about the Mesmer more, so we will understand the changes when they do eventually happen. The only problem that I haven't talked about is that I hope that they add weapons to the Mesmer to help design a tanky point-holding build. The Mesmer already has some great damage mitigation abilities, it just needs some more defensive weapon skills to go with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to click the subscribe button below for information on upcoming videos. Thank you everybody, and I'll see you next time.